Chapter 23, Capitalism.
Review for most of you?
Yeah, review. So factors of production, which are land, labor, and capital. And land is like all the natural resources. For example, like agriculture, mining, and forestry. And then labor is a human resource labor. So like the people that work in hospital, offices, and other places that provide essential to the nation's economy. And then the capital is the human-made resources used to produce goods and services. So, for example, machines and computers. And then a person who owns capital and uses it productively is a capitalist.
So I have a question for you. Over the past probably couple decades, there's been a real movement in this country, and actually I would say around the world, to paint capitalists, as these evil, individuals who abuse and exploit other folks. How is that received, is my first question. And secondly, do you think that that's justified based off your understanding of the free enterprise system?
I think it's justified because they're in it for the profit, and they wouldn't be as big as they are if they weren't greedy, if they weren't in it for the money. And if they weren't greedy, they wouldn't have created the jobs. And I think that's good for them to be greedy, to be in it for the profit, so they could create as many jobs. And that's actually better than donating money to people. It's better to
work for it?
Give them a job instead of just donating money and then them just doing whatever with it.
So I agree with what you said.
So it also might be because in the recent, I don't want to say decade, but in the recent times, like we were watching the video last week of the guy that started up his moving truck company and the government shut it down. It might be also, it seems that way because a lot of people can't start up their companies nowadays, like they said, it has to be needed. And so that's one of the things that is kind of mixing up with this whole system of capitalism, because that's what we're supposed to be, And
so you're saying that the true idea of capitalism is good, where people, consumers and producers can freely exchange, but you're saying now that the system has been corrupted by government rules and special interest regulations and that kind of thing?
Because they want to stay up, they don't want others to come up.
So you're okay with the idea of capitalism, it's when it's corrupted and perverted that people get exploited.
Like I said, the laissez-faire thing, like nowadays it's not even in those simple terms no more. They took off with it, and they're setting all these regulations, and it's just hurting those that want to come up because it's holding them down, It's like this invisible force, that invisible hand.
And I'm for the government stepping in when it deals with the house of the people, but when they start to throw in all these other regulations, it throws out all these firms and corporations. And it makes it really difficult for them.
We have the role of an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs, as you guys all know, are those who have the drive and the ambition and use the factors of productions to produce goods and other services. They start businesses that expand and contribute to high standards of living in the modern capitalistic societies.
And it makes the economy expand because they're the ones creating jobs.
And it could go on from small companies to big companies, and it's...
And not the legislators.
Yeah.
So how come some people just have a knack for understanding how to provide goods and services that consumers want? And it doesn't matter what the product or service is, they seem to be able to make profit and to grow a business. And other people just don't have that.
It all falls down to how they use their factors of production, It really is. Everyone has the same factors of production, that everyone could get land if they wanted to. Everyone could get the same stuff as someone else. It just depends on how they form the product.
So in your opinion, what distinguishes a successful entrepreneur from either an unsuccessful entrepreneur or someone who just
one who doesn't give up, because there's going to be a lot of times where you're going to be put down, and if you just give up on your dream, it's just like any goal you have, you're not going to get to your goal without going through obstacles.
For me, what separates them from the other people is how big of a risk they're willing to take. Because they wouldn't be where they're at if they weren't risk takers and if they weren't driven to invest all their time and money into something and hope for it
To make profit.
to make profit. And that's what separates them from other people, because they're willing to take that risk and not just go into a job and have this secure income.
So it's how they use
Entrepreneurs-
their inputs, because nobody knows what the outputs are going to be. It's up until you take that risk, really. So yeah, that's true. You know.
Good point, Sergio.
Does that answer your question? Are you happy?
I wouldn't go that far.
So free enterprise system, or also known as capitalism, it's an economic system characterized by private or corporate ownership of goods and investment, and they're determined by private, not state decisions. This lets consumers, entrepreneurs, and workers enjoy freedom of choice. Consumers can choose from a variety of services and products. And there's four fundamentals that come with it, which is private ownership, individual initiative, profit, and competition.
Just the basics of capitalism, you know.
Private ownership. Decide how productive property will be used. Own right to labor. Individuals sell their labor by taking a job. Individual initiative. All individuals are free to start and run their own business.
Which is a
Profit.
lie.
They're entitled to benefit from whatever their investment or enterprise earns or gains in value.
And the next one is competition, which is a situation where all these companies that are selling the same products are going to compete for the money of their people. And all this leads is into monopolies, you know, which is a firm that only one source of a product or service. And that's some things that the government watches because they can't form trust, you know, and if they form trust, they're basically taking all the competition out. And trust is a device by which corporations in the same line business combine to eliminate competition, such as I don't even know how they say the name. What's the name? When they had the Sherman Antitrust, when they fought for like 12 years against oil companies back in the day, when they the Rockefeller, was it Rockefeller?
Yeah, John D. Rockefeller.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so he had a trust going on, and they were driving all these other people, you know, out of competition. And so the government stepped in, and eventually, after 12 years of fighting, you know, they finally broke it up, and that's a good thing, you know,
Or like
because
the
trusts are
Microsoft.
bad. Trusts are like
What
cartels.
if I argued the other side and said, if I was John D. Rockefeller, I would say to you, you know, the fact that you want to kill me and break me up will diminish my ability to use land, labor, capital in a way that I think will generate, because I would say, well, I'm in it to make, you know, more money. And with my larger holdings, I have the ability to create a bigger infrastructure, to make larger purchases, and to have more of an influence on the market at large. And for you trying to limit me, you're actually hurting the free enterprise system. How would you respond?
But you're also depriving at the moment. You're depriving all these people who have the right, who want to come up, and you're depriving them of the right to their capitalist idea or mind. Because now, you know, these people that want to get into competition with you, they can't because you've pretty much driven them out. And it kind of sucks, you know. Like it's like another whole government, a little mini government controlling all that little area. And that's, like we said, you know, in that video that we seen, you know, they're intervening too much.
So the laissez-faire theory is government should play a limited handoff role in society, and it should be confined to national defense and foreign relations, protect private property and health, safety, and morals of people, and also the maintenance of police and courts. And 3, economic affairs should be restricted to functions intended to protect and promote free play and competition and operation of law and supply and demand.
What would our world look like if we really did today? Think about that in the United States. If we really did embrace a laissez-faire economy, how would our world today, our country, our state, our community look? How would it be different than it is now? And I don't expect you to just give a shotgun, knee-jerk answer, but really think about that. If government was only involved, go back to those things you just had there, which was national defense and, you know, having relations with foreign countries, just protecting private property talking about like in Baltimore, if the government made sure that these thugs were not breaking into people, a lot of these guys were sole proprietorships. They're just little businesses. These guys busted in, destroyed their whole, these entrepreneurs' way of life. But because the mayor said what? Basically said to the police, let him go crazy. Yeah, that's what she did. She said, essentially told them to back off. And so they just looted, destroyed, vandalized. But no, I'm just saying through national defense, foreign relations, if that's all that they did.
But did that not happen because at first they were trying to get too involved, and they were having all this protection? How did it start? It started with the death of Freddie Gray, was it?
The riots, allegedly, these folks came in because they wanted to, and now there are two different groups of protesters. Some are using their First Amendment right totally legitimately. They're there, they assembled, they were singing, they were giving speeches peacefully. And there was a big group, but then the other thugs were the ones who went crazy all over, burning, destroying, looting. So I don't mean to paint a broad brush. There are definitely legitimate First Amendment protesters, but then there are the others who feel they're justified in causing destruction on
those that want to come up, which is done at the same time because they are hurting the businesses, and in the end, it's going to be their people that are going to be hurt, and in the end, it's going to come back to them, because when that little business that maybe provided for all these people in Baltimore is hurt, it's only going to affect that little area for now. It sucks. I think if I was, a business owner, I'd probably be mad. I'm sure I'd be mad.
You'd be furious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Furious.
It was your risk. It was your money on the line. It was your investment. It's how you bring home, to your family. Just nuts.
It makes the economy. Government of every level regulates aspects of American life. Some prohibits trust, protects environment, protects environment and ensures equality of food. Equality? Or, yeah?
Ensures.
Government promotes aspects of American economic life.
Yeah, I think you meant quality of food.
Yeah.
Like the USDA, United States
the
Department of
FDA.
Agriculture, and meat and all that.
Government promotes aspects of American economic life. Some government constructs public roads and highways, provides services like postal system, census, and weather reports. Also, they conduct some enterprises that might be well operated privately, example, public education and postal system.
So, when you say mixed economies, are mixed economies all the same?
I want to say maybe yeah, but it also comes down to how they distribute what they make. Like those questions of what makes it a good economy. Like what are they going to produce, how are they going to produce it, where are they going to distribute it, and all that. Our mixed economy might be way different than someone else's mixed economy because they might be producing different stuff and they might be distributing it differently than the way we do it. So they're not all the same.
So that's the point. I just wanted to, and you said that, is there's a continuum of mixed economy. Some where it's much more consumer producer controlled, others at the other end of the continuum where it's much more government driven and government supervised and operated. Good.
So
types of business organizations are the sole proprietorship, partnership, and corporations. And the sole proprietorship is a business owned by a single person, and they have full control of their business. And a disadvantage is that they're responsible for all the debts and everything, so it's all on them. And then partnerships are more than one person. And an advantage of this is that, like for example, let's say if I'm good with money and Joey isn't, and he's good at selling, then we kind of combine that and make it bigger. But that can also cause a lot of problems. So that's a disadvantage.
Which is why you have the articles of partnership before you went into business.
Yeah.
Right?
And then corporations, they have many owners. And they share a fraction of ownership in the corporation, and they're strong because of shareholders. and they have limited liability and are responsible for any debts.
So, yeah.
That's my opinion. Yeah, that's it.
Any questions? No? Any comments? No?
Concerns?
Any ideas how we can make this better? No? All right. Thank you all.
Yes, Mofas?